Raise your hand if you've ever been personally victimized by being the last person in your friend group to get the vaccine. I wrote a poem about that. The times is hard, the news is whack. I'm bored inside, want my life back. But luckily, the boat I'm in, it's the total same as all my friends. What's in a shot? Who cares, you see? My rule book straight from CDC. You must stay put, they all do say. Mask up and hide your COVID spray. My phone lights up, the group chat's lit. My last 4 gifts were too legit. But it's not that. I wish it was. This thread was causing much more buzz. The party's on for the whole gang. They got their shots. Now they can hang. They're all inside without their masks. They're sharing joints and passing flasks. And I am here just all alone in the non-essential no fun zone while the whole gang's at the all-vaxxed party. The all-vaxxed party. The all-vaxxed party's where they're at. At the all-vaxxed party, it simply means if you're all cleans and got the vax, then just relax. Take off your mask. We'll have a gas. No, not outside. Indoors this time. The normal ones. We'll have such fun. Can't skip the line when you are fine. No COVID test. Just squeeze my breasts. We're all repressed and age digressed. No more Zoom. TikTok is doomed. Take off your sweats. Unleash your pets. Quarantine got really real and gave us all a new raw deal. It's over now. No need to scowl. Let's dip some chips and share a kiss, our favorite things that we all missed. We've Johnsoned up, Moderna tough, Pfizer get on top of me, and I don't care because we're finally here at the all-vaxxed party. The all-vaxxed party. The all-vaxxed party's where we're at. You can't come in if you aren't pricked. You better hope your number's picked or you won't be in attendance at the all-vaxxed party. The all-vaxxed party. The all-vaxxed party. Come inside. It's cool, guys. May 1st will be here before we know it.
It's time for
Duh.
Rocket
Welcome to the Rocky Rundown, where you get to learn a little bit about my week. Well, I won't sugarcoat it. I have a new idea. I'm really excited about it. So I was in the shower, ooh la la, and I was listening to the song Lemon by N-E-R-D, or Nerd. I don't know which one is correct, y'all, because I've never had to actively tell anyone that that's what I was listening to. So feel free to, let your girl know which it is. But regardless, I was dancing to it, which I think we can all agree that dancing in the shower is either the most embarrassing thing or the sexiest thing. So use your imagination carefully. And yes, I had some puffs of God's green ganja before the suds party, so I was in an altered state, and I was dancing in the shower. And I thought to myself, why can't we help dancing? Why do we dance? Yes, it feels good. But why does it feel good? And why is it so hard for almost every single person on the earth when they hear music that they like to resist the urge to move when the music hits you? And thus the idea was born for Rocky's Highest Thoughts. I will be writing down my highest thoughts of the week and delivering them to my listeners exclusively. From there, you can go forth and contemplate with your friends and family about the mysterious questions that plague me. And also, if anyone has any deep thoughts on why you think the rhythm gets you every time, why we dance, let me know. It's St. Patrick's Day this Wednesday, but please don't let that stop you from hopping over to my Wild Nights page on Instagram and watching Wild Wednesdays with me at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I do a little live version of Wild Nights with some people from all over the world, and I would love for you to tune in, ask some questions, and enjoy the show. My guest today is stand-up comedian, podcast host, and author Liz Miele. Can you even believe that? If you have never heard of Liz, wake the fuck up. Follow her on all platforms at Liz Miele, Lizmiele. Before you miss the boat. Her book, Why Cats Are Assholes, comes out March 30th. You can pre-order your copy now. I did. Liz's wild word was friendship, which is beautiful, because friends are beautiful. But the story is wild, so keep that in mind. And it might allow you some time to think about who the ride or dies are in your life. Before we get to the interview, I just want to welcome any new listeners. I hope you'll stay. I want to thank those of you who have liked, shared, subscribed to the podcast. If you haven't written a review on Apple Podcasts, but you're here with me week by week, make sure you write one after this episode. Follow me at Wild Nights with Rocky on TikTok and Instagram. Keep staying safe, keep getting vaccinated, keep hope alive, and enjoy my wild night conversation with Liz Miele. Liz, welcome. Thank you for doing the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course. This is really exciting for me because I discovered you probably, I want to say like 3 years ago. I get a lot of stand up in my Instagram feed. Like they just like, oh, you might like this. And you came up and I don't even remember what joke it was, but I was like, this chick is funny. So I've been following you ever since. So this is a big deal for me.
Thanks, Instagram.
Thank you, Instagram. You do so much bad, but you do so much good.
You just bring like-hearted hearts together, and that's all that matters.
Yes. How has your pandemic quarantine been?
You know, every day is I'm discovering a new like mood. Mm-hmm. So I had like really bad mood swings as like a teenager and in probably my early 20s, just unresolved trauma and sadness, and I was just unfun to be around, and I was all over the place. And the best thing about going to therapy and being better is that I don't really feel like that. And then not to the same extent, also I'm off birth control also didn't help with that, but I will take responsibility to that. It wasn't all birth control that made me crazy. Some of it's just innate, so
just lucky, I guess.
So it's just genetics. But I would say the combination of getting healthier and getting off birth control, mm-hmm. I'm pretty even keel. And when I'm happy, I'm happy. And when I'm sad, I'm sad. They correspond with what's happening. But with the pandemic, it's the first time I've truly felt like a teenager, both emotionally and just how I live I decorate like a runaway teenager. It's just obvious.
But I like that. Robin Williams, is that Robin Williams, Eddie Murphy?
Oh yeah, all those albums.
Oh my God, so cool.
Dick Gregory, Steve Martin, Richard Pryor, George Carlin, Mel Brooks, and Carl Reiner.
Are we Howard Stern and Jerry Seinfeld right now? Because that's what I feel like when Howard Stern interviewed Jerry Seinfeld and he just had all the records behind him. It's the exact same thing.
You have to have your heroes.
Yeah,
Bill Murray. So in general, like I've always felt a little bit paused, not like maturity wise, but I travel, I don't have kids.
Yeah.
I make money randomly. I've always lived this kind of 25-year-old life consistently.
Right.
But then you lose your job, you lose your ability to work, you're stuck at home. And I feel like I'm 16 again.
Yeah.
Luckily, I have a little bit emotional stuff that I've told people this would be way worse if I was 20 and it happened, because I did not have the tools or the self-soothing to handle it. But this has been the most emotionally erratic time for me in a long time, where like one day I'm just like, it'll be fine. I get to sleep in, I'm resting, things will get better. And then I'm like, it'll never be the same. Like it's every day is different. And like today I woke up in a really good mood.
Good.
I was supposed to go for a run with my running buddy. I am going to go out of town. So I was just like, normally if it's too cold, we'll we'll do this tomorrow.
Right.
20 degrees outside. And I go, do you still want to do this? She's like, do you still want to do this? And I was like, well, I'm going to be gone for a couple of weeks and I'm going to miss you. She's like, I'm in if you're in. And then we're running. And I'm like, I was in a good mood. And then the cold hit me. And now but I came here for you. She's like, I came here for you. Like, so it's just this kind of every day that I wake up and I don't feel dread is nice, but it could only last a couple of hours. Like I'm all over the place. This is a long way to say that every day sucks, but I'm handling it okay, I think.
That's okay. Well, I'm glad to hear that. I honestly feel like I could talk to you for hours. I want to say I manifested what I think is going to be our future friendship through this podcast. And speaking of friendship, for Liz's wild word, she gave us the word friendship. So I'm going to give you the floor, and everyone is very excited to hear your wild word friendship story.
Okay, so I don't drink anymore. I quit
Okay.
drinking about 5 years ago for stomach issues. Like I even have a joke about it. Just because you say you don't drink as a comic, and they're just like, "Good for you. I'm so proud of you." And you're just
Glad
like,
you got
I didn't.
clean.
Yeah, I didn't wake up in a ditch, but
Yeah.
this story is about pretty much waking up in a ditch. But it was like not my fault. So I
Right.
quit drinking because of stomach issues. Blah blah blah. So this has to be at the very least over 5 years ago. Let's say 6 or 7 years ago.
Okay.
I'm in London. I'm doing a European tour. And that's like my first big European tour. I'm going to be gone for like a month and a half. And I'm making London my base. My girlfriend my friend Maria, she now lives in London. But at the time,
Your
we both
podcast
like,
co-host.
yes, my friend Maria. So we started going to London at the same time and we kept coming back. And so whenever we decided to come back and do gigs, we tried to do it at the same time. So we got an Airbnb together, but I was like gone a ton because I was making London my base, and I would go to Germany, and then I would go to Belgium, and then I'd go to Amsterdam. So I'm home in London for like a couple of days, and we're meeting up with a college buddy of mine that and we get some drinks. I'm like a little buzzed or whatever. And earlier that day, I got a joint from a kind of friend. So he was a waiter at a comedy club in Connecticut that I would do once a year, and he was always super nice. And I had done it, and like you just
Right. Which
it's
comedy
not
club? Can you
exactly
say
like
the comedy club? I'm from Connecticut originally, so I'd love to know which one.
why can't I think of it? It like shut down and then reopened. The one in Hartford.
Okay. I wouldn't probably know. I'm about 45 minutes originally from outside Hartford, about 45 minutes. So that's not ringing a bell, but that's still cool. So he gives you
Yeah. So
he gives you the
so
joint.
so this is a guy that I would see once a year. Always enjoyed talking to him. Friendly or whatever. And he had married a woman in the UK, and he moved to London. So I went to go get lunch with him. And keep in mind, like my life is always kind of taking minor acquaintances and meeting up with them because I'm constantly on the road, and I just kind of build friendships out of the fact that if I only hung out with people that are my best friends, I would never see anybody. And I've learned to like, okay, every time I'm in Ohio, I'll meet up with this friend. And, so I don't know him very well, but I know him consistently. So earlier that day I had lunch with this guy, and he goes, do you want to smoke this joint before you go? And I go, actually, dude, I have a show. I can't do that. Like I've never smoked or even drank before shows. I'm not together sober, let alone.
Right. You want to be
So
clear headed.
no. And he goes, well, take it with you. So he gives it to me. And I was like a pretty big pothead when I was a teenager, but everything past 17, it's like I would smoke once in a while. And then anytime I tried to smoke more, I would have panic attacks. So I'm a very casual smoker, and I'm talking about like 2 puffs. I try not to go more. And we're talking about like, I guess I'm 28, 29 in this story.
Yeah.
So I'm already at that place where I'm like, I don't think weed's for me anymore, and I keep having panic attacks, but I want weed to be a part of me, but it just doesn't. It's just
it's
like
not clicking anymore.
You're not cool enough to hang with us. That's what weed says.
Got it.
But I still want it. So I keep it with me, and I have to get rid of it. I'm flying to Amsterdam, and I was going to actually smoke weed in Amsterdam because I was like, that's what you're supposed to do, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So I carry it with me, and all I think is I'm either going to smoke it with my friend, or I'm going to give it to my friend because I can't go to Amsterdam. Who brings weed to Amsterdam?
Yeah.
So after my show, I meet up with Maria and my friend Sam, have a couple of drinks, and then I go to Sam and I go, hey, I have this joint. Do you want to smoke it? And he's like, yeah. So Maria takes like maybe a puff. She's not a weed person. And me and Sam split this joint. That's already not okay. Like I'm too small, and I don't smoke enough weed for me to handle that. And at first it's like, like weed is, you're fun. And the next thing you know, I'm like, I don't feel good. Like I feel really like not attached to my body, but not in a weed way. And then I'm really sick. And then I start like blacking out and like having these like picturesque moments where I'm throwing up on a sidewalk. Sam is over there and he's throwing up on a sidewalk. I don't know where Maria is. Where are we? Like, it was just like craziness. So luckily Maria barely had any. So she wasn't like, she was maybe a little buzzed, but she ends up taking care of like 2 grown adults that I was like strung out. Like clearly this weed was laced with something, but I didn't know what it was laced with. Fast forward, I told a version of the story on my podcast, like a Patreon version. And one of the fans was like, I'm 90% sure I think it's GHB, whatever the date rape drug is.
Oh.
Because it was like,
a roofie?
It's not a roofie. There's a couple of different ones that are that if prescribed, it could be to help you put you to sleep, but people use it as a date rape drug because it makes you like completely incapacitated. So what's crazy about it is we're like strung out, we're crazy. Sam's freaking out, I'm freaking out. Maria's kind of taking care of us. We drop off, we get in a cab, and Maria's like making sure we're okay.
Yeah.
We get in a cab, drop Sam off. Then I'm supposed to fly, like I'm supposed to like get on a train to then get on a plane, and I'm leaving at like maybe 5 a.m. It is 8 p.m. and it feels like it's 2 a.m. and I'm gonna miss my flight kind of thing. And I'm vomiting in a bag. We're in the cab. I have my head out the window. I'm in an Uber just vomiting. And the guy's like, you can't do that. I'm like, I'm outside the cab. He's like, you got to clean it up. I was like, it's on the outside. And Maria's like, this is my Uber. You're ruining my account. I'm gonna get.
Oh, now
like,
she's getting mad.
You know what I mean? So she's like, she's taking care of me. I'm a mess. I'm like, I'm literally like, I have to fly soon. She's like, I'm not gonna let you miss your flight.
Right.
I'm vomiting in a bag. It's like 4 a.m. I'm vomiting in a bag, packing my stuff, trying to get to a train, to get to a plane, to go to Amsterdam where normal people smoke weed.
Right.
The next day, I'm checking in with Sam and he's like, dude, what the fuck was that? Like, I was like, I don't know. So then I check in with that kind of friend, kind of half friend. And I was like, what the fuck is that? He's like, it's fine. But Sam's like a professional weed smoker. He's like, I have never felt that way. Yeah. Ever. He was like, this is weird. He's like, I've had lace stuff before. This is weird. And that's why when a fan told me that he thinks it's this like kind of date rape drug, I was like, that makes sense. Most dudes, I mean, I never experienced that. And I wasn't ever a big drinker even before I quit drinking. Mm-hmm. But a big dude, you know, this guy's got to be over 6 feet tall, being like, I could not like function. Yeah, what the fuck was that? So I never talked to that guy again. I was like, two things are happening with that guy. Either that guy's creepy and I didn't realize it, right? Or that guy is so sad and so like just hates his life so much that he's drugging him. Like he has to be. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, those people that like just numb the fuck out of themselves and it has to get through more and more for them to like feel anything. So maybe this dude needs the strongest shit to get through his life or to sleep at night. I don't know. That's not my place. But I was like, right. It just creeped me out. And the fact that he didn't think anything was weird, I was like, come on, man. This is laced with something. I've smoked enough weed. This isn't normal.
This isn't right. Yeah. And either option is not good, right? If he is the kind of person who's numbing himself to the point where he's giving himself the version of a date rape drug, or he's giving it to his quote unquote acquaintance, friend, whatever you guys want to call each other. You know what I mean? Yeah. And while you're in another country, it's not right either way.
Oh, and I'm so glad I didn't smoke it before a gig. I'm so glad I didn't smoke it with him. What?
Could you imagine if you had done that before a gig? It could have like derailed the whole future of your career.
I mean, I would have been asleep on a floor somewhere. Yeah. People being like, why is this American asleep? Like it was one of the worst experiences I've ever had. But like looking back, like Maria didn't even realize how bad it was. She's like, well, this is really messed up. She just took care of me. Cause that's what, like we've been friends. Now we've been friends for over 15 years, but keep in mind, Maria's tinier than I am. And she's like, come on, Liz, let's do this. All right. It's time to get your flight. I mean, like mama bared the shit out of me, but she's also, and we've been like this our whole lives. Cause I've driven her all around LA when she was drunk, but like you do it. You're not happy about it, but you do it. And then you sit them down and you go, did that seem like a good idea? Is that how you plan that? And I'm like, no, no.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry. But I made my flight. I clearly didn't put anything in my system. I was vomiting in a bag. And then I get to Amsterdam and I told the booker like wanted to like meet up and show me something. And I was like, hey, I'm not feeling well. I had to go from Amsterdam to Utrecht. So I actually was in Utrecht and I slept through the entire day of Utrecht. Like I got to my hotel, I slept the whole day. I did my show. And then the next day we went to Amsterdam and did shows in Amsterdam. But like the other comic who I didn't know, but we became friends. He's like, we should smoke weed. And I was like, I'm off weed for a long time. So I was like, we can walk around. I'll go to a coffee shop with you, but think I'm gonna participate in a while.
No. You were like traumatized from this,
Oh,
and like that's actually wild because the idea of being in a foreign country, even if it is London where they speak the language, etc., and I know London's not a country, the city of
yeah.
the city of London, the country of England, but the idea of that is just mortifying,
Oh,
especially as a woman.
it was traumatizing. And it just, I mean, in some ways, I'm very grateful, but in some ways, it's good to know what that drug does.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because I know I had another friend that she's pretty sure that she got roofied, and luckily, like, she was in the cab. It's just when she was like getting to her apartment that she's like, I'm not okay, and then she like kind of passed out and woke up, and luckily, she got out of there before. But like, I think as a woman, or anybody. I mean, not that
Just
I mean, I would wake up and I'd be on a sidewalk, and then I would go back out, and then I wake up and I'd be vomiting, and I wake up and we're now in a cab. And like, it was like, you know what I mean? And it was like almost like a movie. And I just remember just feeling strung, like, so,
mhm.
like you're in the city and you see somebody on a bus, or you see somebody on like the subway platform, and they're like strung, like they're like hanging over themselves, or
Yeah.
they're kind of like standing, but they're not standing.
Oh
Like,
yeah, the nod and everything, and
yeah, and you're like, "Ugh," and that's how I felt. Like, that was the first time that I was like, and before this fan kind of let me know what it was and like broke it down, and I did a bunch of research, and I was like, this
yeah.
seems right. I was like, was it laced with like heroin? Like, what
What
the fuck
happened?
was
Yeah.
this? Because it really was, I had never done anything. I've done like coke and weed. Like, I've
Right.
never really done anything much stronger than that. And so that was like, and again, I'm a really tiny person. So
Mhm.
like, it doesn't take me much drinking wise, and I'm not even participating in this stuff very often, that it was like, not that I needed like a PSA to like drugs are bad, but I was like, guys, I think drugs are bad.
Yeah, this might be an issue. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
scary. That'll honestly make me think twice about ever taking weed from someone who I don't know
yeah,
because I love weed.
yeah,
I just love it and I smoke it every day pretty much or eat it. I ingest it in some form every
of course.
day. But I know that I went to LA with one of my friends and we went to a dispensary, but we had a very short amount of time that we were there. So we got these pre-rolled joints that were huge and dipped in like keef and everything.
Yeah.
And they were great, but we just physically either we were going to be laid out all day chilling and we wanted to get up and do stuff. So we couldn't physically smoke all of them. And so we went to a bar before we left. I think it was the Roosevelt Hotel or something. And we go to a bar and we just gave them to the bartenders. We're like, we're about to get on our plane. We haven't touched these. This was pre-COVID. Just, they're yours for the taking. And they were like, oh my God, thank you. This is the best,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're just like heroes. But also, I think with dispensaries, it's to their benefit that you know exactly what's in it. Their
Mhm.
label is on it. Like, it's so, it's almost something that shows you that the legalization of this stuff actually has some value, because you can trace back to it and you know what's in it. And there's consequences if people get hurt, as opposed to what drugs really are, which is like, hey, do you know a guy? Yeah, I know a guy. He's a guy that knows another guy that knows another guy. Is it good stuff? I think it's good. You,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So it's like, when you do start to regulate it in some sense, and you know what's in it, like, it's very different than somebody just handing you something.
Yeah.
And but that's, isn't that youth though? Because like, I
Mhm.
remember being a teenager, and I was because I was like, everyone drank and I was more of a pothead, so I would go to
Mhm.
a party and I would like ask my girlfriends, I'm like, Amanda, find out if he has weed. Ashley, go see if your brother has weed. Like, I was
Yeah.
always just like, somebody get me weed. And it didn't matter where it came from. Is just, and like, now I'm just like, whose chocolate is that? I don't even trust it. I don't,
Yeah.
no, I don't want your weirdo chocolate. Like, now I'm just like,
Yeah. So weed is not your jam anymore. You said it kind of induces like panic feelings and you're not for it.
Yeah, and I just made a mistake. And I have a hard rule of no edibles. So I could maybe like
Okay.
smoke a little bit. Um, and like, there's just so much more control if you take a puff, see how you feel for 20 minutes or
Mhm.
whatever. So I'll do that occasionally. Um, but I have a hard rule of no edibles, and I've broken it during the pandemic
Yeah.
3 times. And every time I've had like a rolling panic attack. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? Like, you know what happens. Why do
Yeah.
you do this? Because you just don't, because you know how they're like, it could be 10 milligrams, it could be 4 milligrams.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
like, so I took an edible a couple weeks ago, and it was one of the worst panic attacks. I had to call my friend.
Oh,
She talked me through it for 2 hours, and then as I was going to bed, I was still freaking out, so we texted for, like, another hour, and then I called her the next day to tell her I was, like, okay or whatever, and I was like, "I'm so sorry." She's like "I'm sorry, I'm sorry." And she's like, "Dude, one panic attack that you call me up in 15 years, it's
it's okay.
fine."
Yeah.
She's like, "You can have, like, 6 more panic attacks." And I was like, "Okay." Like,
They're not panic attacks are no joke. I mean, knock on wood. I think I've only had one once and I didn't even realize I was having a panic attack. I'm like, "Oh, I'm shaking and I'm like having trouble breathing. Am I having a panic attack?"
yeah,
So
you
that
are.
yes, indeed, you are. So I'm fortunate that I haven't suffered too many, but I will say this with weed, sometimes when I smoke late night, I'll just be sitting there and I'll watch something on TV and it'll trigger something that I thought was healed and it's
Yeah.
not. And then my brain just starts going. I'm like, oh, wow, these are super intrusive thoughts. These are
Yeah.
really like, and I'm good at telling myself like I think I have the tools to be like, okay, you're fine. This is an existential crisis that we're all kind of going through collectively. If it took you, almost a year to start feeling the weight of the pandemic, then you're doing a lot better than, some people who aren't as fortunate. So kind of take it in stride and then I just go to sleep. But I'm kind of the opposite with you on the edible train because I've started to take more edibles for vanity's sake because smoking is just so bad for your skin.
Oh, interesting.
So I heard Chelsea Handler say that she was like, I'm trying to take more edibles because just for vanity. And I'm like, oh wow, or I don't know if she said that about weed or drinking. I don't know. I'm probably butchering the quote, but I
No,
thought
but
about it.
that makes a lot of sense from just like for women. This is how you know it's real vein. Like when you
Yeah.
do the puff, you any like the smoker's lips that
Hmm.
start to happen here, and then just in general what smoke does to your skin. I mean,
Yes.
as someone that barely cared about their skin, and now I have a 45-minute skin regimen that I can
Yeah.
just do because I don't have a job. I've started to be like, I can't believe I used to not take off my makeup at night. What the fuck, Elizabeth? Like,
Yeah.
what are you doing?
You got to take your makeup off. And I'm saying this as someone who didn't take her makeup off last night, but I usually take it off every
Yeah,
single night. And I've been
yeah,
using anti-aging cream since I was 18.
yeah, yeah. And
So
that's why we both look 15.
we look so 15. One of the things I wanted to bring up is your podcast, Two Non-Doctors, that you talked about your friend Maria, and the two of you host that together. You said in your most recent episode, if I could just quote you really quick, you're going to have to get used to people not liking you so you can like yourself. I really liked that quote because just really quick, before I say why I like that quote, do you mind just telling people what your podcast is about so they know?
Yeah, so we it's our kind of catchphrase is two non-doctors don't
Hmm.
listen to us because we're both comedians, we're both morons. Everything we do, we Google. Like we have a Google segment. What did you Google this week? And then we're
Yep.
very honest about everything we know is through a little bit of experience because we talk, but mostly we're Googling.
Right.
So we tell people to correct us. We call each other morons. We had a lawyer on as a guest Google and we're like, are we liable? They're like, she's like, are you telling people you're doctors? We're like, no, it says two non-doctors in the title.
Clear as
And then
day.
every day we say, don't listen to us. And
Mhm.
she's like, I think you'll be fine. And I was like,
Yeah.
cool, 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 cool. But we just, it's a very friendship, personal podcast. And we just have a topic every week that could be anything from like depression to ASMR to like, I don't know. I don't even know what we talk about half the
Narcissism. I
time.
listened to the narcissism episode.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And so like a lot of it comes from like experiences or knowledges or having friends that have dealt with stuff. Like we did an episode, I have eczema, she has psoriasis. So we were
Right.
just like, let's talk about our skin being itchy. So a lot of them are stuff we know or just stuff we're interested in. And I mean, I treat it like it's a homework assignment and I
Yeah.
like doing what I learned and like whatever. And then what's cool is our fans write in and they go, hey, you missed the mark on this one, or hey, you're actually pretty close. This is what it really, and we're like, cool. So we're
Yeah.
learning a lot and it's a comedy podcast.
Yeah, no, I
So
really enjoy it. The episodes that
mhm.
I've listened to, I just discovered it about probably a month or so ago. And I do that thing. I treat a podcast like a TV show, and I shouldn't, but I'll start from the very beginning. And I'm like, I have to, if I'm going to be a true fan, I have to listen to all the episodes. So when I was listening to some of them, I was like, you know what? I should listen to the more recent episodes that she's done, etc. But anyways, I'll read the quote again. You're going to have to get used to people not liking you so you can like yourself. I really appreciated you saying that. I know you guys are two non-doctors, but I kind of have been listening to your podcast in a way where it's like, oh, I'm also Googling some of these things and I'm also thinking about some of these things. And I'm a perpetual people pleaser.
Yeah.
And I just discovered that about myself within the past like 6-7 months. And I'm working to be better at that. But it's hard. You're like, I want everyone to like me and everyone's opinion about me matters. And it fucking doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think what really shocked, I've always known I'm a people pleaser since like any kind of therapy or whatever,
Mhm.
but I didn't think it was that bad. I'm like, is it that bad? It's like, it's the worst on both spectrums. The
Yeah.
one spectrum, like the thing that really made me work on it and really understand that it's bad for everyone involved is when somebody said that people pleasing is a form of manipulation. And I was
Jeez.
like my initial thought was, fuck you. I'm a nice
Yeah.
person. And then my next thought was like, oh, if I'm getting angry, it's because I think there's some truth to that.
Probably.
So-
Yeah.
And also, I think I'm a little resentful because I was programmed this way. I was raised to be a people pleaser.
Mhm.
You become a people pleaser because it's a survival technique. So if you continue to do it into your adulthood, it's because A, it worked initially, and
Mhm.
B, it in some ways it is still working. You don't, I mean, there's tons of people that do skills, and I'm it's not completely true, but for the most part, you stop doing stuff that's detrimental if you're aware of it.
Yeah.
So I think what I started to notice is that I would do something for somebody and I would get really mad if I didn't feel like they were as grateful as I thought they should be. And I
Mm.
started to get resentful. Or the other side of it is I would do something for somebody and be mad that I was doing it, even though they're not like holding a gun to my head. They're not saying
Mm-mm.
they're not going to be my friend if I don't do it. So I started to be more aware, like I have my New Year's resolutions all written out.
Yes.
And one of them is if my first thought is no, then say no.
Ooh.
Yeah. And I'm getting a little bit better. I was even talking to my roommate about this yesterday. Sometimes I get an email or somebody asks me something and it's literally like, fuck no, I'm
Yeah.
not doing that. And now I know that seems pretty strong, Liz. I think we should say no.
Mhm.
But sometimes it's a,
A maybe.
like,
Yeah. On the fence.
you know, they've done a lot for me and maybe that, but you know, if I was in that way, like, and so I'm still learning to figure out what that means. Is that maybe because I think they're not going to be my friend if I don't do it? Is that maybe because I feel like they go above and beyond for me and this is a way that I can show up and be a good friend?
Mhm.
And it might be a little hard because I'm busy, but I do want to be there for them. So one of the things I talked to about it with Maria is people pleasing is a fear that people aren't going to like you and you're doing stuff so they can't not like you.
Yeah.
But being a good person, and this is what I've always struggled with, being a good person is I want to show up for you this way. So, you know, the example we kind of gave is Maria, because like Maria's going through some stuff and she was
Mhm.
calling me every day. And we're really close. We talk a
So
lot,
it's
but
fine.
like,
Yeah.
but it was like our conversations every day. And we have a podcast.
Mhm.
And so she'll be like, can you talk? I go, yes. And I make time for her. And so we're talking and she's like, are you people pleasing me? And I go, there's a difference. If I didn't have the time or I didn't want to show up for you, I would say it.
Yeah.
But I want to show up for you. I like showing up for you. I'm happy to be here. You being sad or frustrated or confused doesn't make me angry. The problem is when I'm offering to help somebody move that I don't know. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Because I
Mhm.
want to be cool or want them to like me in a certain way, or saying yes to something and the whole time being like, what the fuck am I doing? Why did I say yes to this?
I don't want to be doing this. Yeah.
So I think in a lot of ways, by saying no, being okay with people not thinking I'm the best or being disappointed, A, it doesn't matter.
Nope.
Who cares? And B, I like my day more. I like who I am more. I'm being authentic to myself. I'm
Mhm.
not bending over backwards to be a version of somebody as opposed to just showing up as the flawed person that I am.
Right. I know you're not a doctor, but if you're free this time next week, I will pay you $75 and we can do this all over again for, I don't know, 6 to 8 months until
Yeah.
my next big mistake. And then we'll go on a break and I'll call you back.
Perfect. I'll schedule. Let me get my calendar. But I do think there's something like, and it's a process. And that's what
Right.
I've learned through therapy is that first it's the awareness. I am a people pleaser. This is
Mhm.
what I do. And this is why I feel unseen or resentful or feel like my day isn't mine or my life isn't mine. And then you start to watch yourself say yes, even though your brain is saying no. And then
Right.
you go, okay, that's not it. And then you start to go, okay, I want to say yes, even though my heart says no. And then you have to battle it for a couple of days and then you do say no. And then eventually it's fuck no, no, move on with your day. So I think it's a process that can take however long time it takes, but I'm I'm still like I still struggle with it. But you know it was a really good book for me. That it's supposed to be a social media book, but it actually taught me a lot about friendship. It's called Grouped,
Groups.
Grouped ED. And it's very thin, and it was supposed to just show you how word of mouth works. And by
Right.
understanding word of mouth and understanding friendships, you'll understand social media because social media is just word of mouth faster.
Oh
And
yeah, very fast.
yeah, and it made me understand that I was trying to make everybody my best friend. Like that was
Mhm.
really what people pleasing was to me. Everybody's going to like me, everybody's going to think I'm the best. But the truth of the matter is, I don't even want everybody to be my best friend. That's too
No.
much work. It's too stressful. I don't even like half these people. I have best friends. I have good friends. I have people I love. And I have people that I hope do well and blah, blah, blah. And they basically say that you have anywhere from 1 to 5 core friends. These are
Yeah.
people you talk to every day or every
Mhm.
week. These are people that are instrumental to your survival. Then you have like you branch it out to like another 10 people. And these are people that you're close to, you keep in touch, they know about what's going on with you, blah, blah, blah. Then it moves out to like 15, 50 people, they'd be sad if you died, you see them once a month, whatever.
Yeah.
And it maxes out at about 150. They say no tribes or more than 150. You start to forget people's names, blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
But I was trying to put like 50 people in the top 5, and that just doesn't work
It
that
doesn't
way.
work, no.
So now when I am struggling with the no, I go, is this person a core person? Is this person a
Mm.
close person? No. Then why the fuck am I helping them move?
Yeah.
This isn't a core person.
They're just
What am
using
I?
me, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't even know if they're using me as much as, but that's not the relationship I have with them, and that's not the
Yeah.
relationship I need to build with them. And I'm already responsible for all these other people. And why would I water down my connection with these people I'm literally in love with for somebody I barely know?
Mm. Yeah.
So it's made me, I think my friendships are so much closer and I feel so much more connected and I feel so much better about myself as I pull away more and more from being a people pleaser.
Yeah, I'm definitely working on that. I think I'm going to steal that. If I my initial reaction is no, then just say no.
Yeah.
Just like how you just say no to drugs.
Yeah, just say no to drugs. Don't end up in a ditch. But what's really helpful too is like you say no and then you start to see that those people are still around too.
Yeah.
Like cuz I think that's what it is you're scared to say no and then they abandon you, and
Yeah.
that's where the manipulation comes. If I say no, then they won't be my friend, so I'm going to use this yes as a way that you can't leave me.
Yeah.
As opposed to how many times have you said no to somebody close or somebody not close and they're like, "No worries." And you're like, "Why did I stress about that for 4 days?"
Tons of times. And how many times have you said yes to somebody and then on the flip side of it they're like,
Nowhere to,
can't help
nowhere to be
you.
found.
Yeah,
Yeah.
can't help you out. So it's a struggle, but honestly being a person is really fucking hard.
It is.
I always say, I'm like, it is hard to be a person and just like exist. I love it. I love being a person and I love the things that being a person can do. But it would be a lie to say that this shit was easy.
I think it's just even people with good childhoods, I think it takes still a lot of reprogramming because there's so
Yeah.
much toxicity in society. But as somebody that didn't have the greatest childhood, my parents were wonderful and they did the best they could, and I think they instilled a lot of great morals and values. It has been a lot of reprogramming, and just like it's easier to learn a language in when you're 9 than it is when you're
Sponge, yeah.
29,
Hmm.
I feel like learning the language of um emotional intelligence or uh undoing my codependency, all this stuff has been so hard for me because it's literally wired into my system so
Hmm.
that it feels weird and it feels wrong to stick up for myself, believe in myself, not be a vessel of doing tasks for people or like I was raised to be a helper bee, And, you know, this is going to sound really stupid, but it's just like, I'm the queen of my own domain. Like, why am I putting myself in this helper bee position all the time? And I still like being a helper bee. I still think it has value. And I like that part of me, but it needs to be utilized in the right way. Otherwise, like I said, it's just watered down garbage.
And you have to be the star of your own movie. That's when I feel like you make yourself the star of your own movie, the movie being your life. That's when things start to take a turn for the more positive. I'm not saying be completely selfishly absorbed with yourself, but if you're like, I'm putting my needs first, that is what being the star of your own movie means to me.
Yeah. And then also being able to tell my friends, like, you're not being selfish by doing this, and I'm not going anywhere if you do this. You know what I mean? Like, also being able to, like, I think in the beginning, I think me and all my friends, because we clearly similar brains, connect to
each other. Yeah.
I think we were all scared to say no to each other or not show up exactly the way the person needs, and da da da, or they're going to be mad. And now I'm like, I'll let you know when I'm mad. I'll let you know what I mean? And even if I'm mad, it doesn't mean I'm going away. It just means that we need to resolve something. Yeah. And I think understanding and working through conflict and knowing that conflict isn't the end all be all, it all, I mean, I think it's clearly all abandonment issues, but I think everything seems a lot healthier for everybody involved. That I don't know, it's me showing up for myself has helped my other friends show up for themselves, and we all just are getting healthy together.
Yeah. Well, you heard it here first, guys. Liz is not a doctor, but I am going to go to her for all my whatever's going on in my head issues.
Now I'm like, oh, now I got to learn health insurance. Oh, God. I hate starting a practice. It's so difficult.
It'll be worth it in the end. I promise to be a great patient. Liz, this was so much fun. I loved your story. I loved chatting with you. Where can people find you online? Give us some plugs.
Yeah, so everything's at Liz Miele, so Miele, and I have a book coming out March 16th. It's
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's about cats, so it's for 4 people, but it's called Why Cats Are Assholes. So that'll be out March 16th. You can pre-order it now, Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, Indie Books, all those things. And then Two Non-Doctors is a weekly podcast with Maria Shahada. She's hilarious as well. And then what else do I have?
Your YouTube special, which was great.
Yeah, thank you. I was like, I do have something. Yeah, my special. It came out in May. It was recorded November 2019. So, you know, remember our previous life when you watch it. But yeah, it's free on YouTube.
It was very enjoyable. Well, Liz, I really appreciate you coming on the show. I can't wait to continue to chat with you in the future, and I wish you all the best.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This was awesome.
Of course. Bye, Liz.
Is it?